So hello once again, I'm Dr. Jan Michael Santos, your teacher in HEMA 2. So our next topic would still be on primary hemostasis, but for now we're going to talk about the evaluation of your primary hemostasis. So once again, your primary hemostasis consists of your blood vessels and your platelets. So we will evaluate the functionality of your blood vessels and your platelets in this topic. Okay, so it deals with platelets and the major important factors, the number of platelets, and we can we will talk about the quantitative and the qualitative evaluation of platelets. So firstly, to test the vascular integrity, I hope you have done this in your laboratory, is your bleeding time. Okay, so your bleeding time, it's also included in your vascular integrity, is your capillary fragility or resistance test. So this tests the stability of small blood vessels to retain their cells in the lumen under conditions of stress and trauma. So your capillary fragility test is also termed as your tourniquet or your Rumpel lead, your Hess test, or your Hess test positive pressure technique. Okay, so the principle of this one is that you will apply pressure. So by partially obstructing the venous blood, the capillary pressure is increased, diba? Yung flow of blood kasi natin, di ba, away from the heart, of course, that's from the heart, your aorta. The aorta is your largest artery, sorry. It's your largest artery, and then from artery, it will go now to your arterioles, and then from arterioles to your capillaries, and then from capillaries, it will start now to drain, going to your venules, and then your venules to your veins, and then to your superior or inferior vena cava, which are the largest veins in your body, ultimately leading back to heart. So once you give a stress or obstruct your vein, of course, hindi pagflow yung blood from capillary to vein, therefore increasing the pressure in your capillaries, and then magli-leak out na siya. So that's what we are testing in here. Okay, so the tendency of your capillary to break or to leak out the blood kapag may obstruction na nangyayari sa veins natin. Okay, so this will give rise to intravasation of blood, which will be increased, and this will manifest in a form of small hemorrhages called petechiae. Okay, so what's the difference between petechiae, ecchymosis, and hematoma? So it's up for you to review yung mga terms na yon. Okay, but petechiae is small, sila yung pinaka small na form of ecchymosis, kumbaga. Blood-like hemorrhages lang sila. So to do this, you should inflate the cuff, BP cuff, halfway between the systolic and diastolic for 5 minutes. The normal value should show 0 to 10 petechiae. The abnormal is greater than 20. And if it is 10 to 20, this is equivocal. So the suction cup or the petechiometer method or the negative pressure technique, so as shown on the picture, we use the De Silva Mill instrument. So the cup is applied to the outer surface of the arm for a period of 1 minute at 200 mmHg, and the resistance of the capillaries is expressed as the negative pressure required to produce a macroscopic petechiae. So the normal value for this method is less than 4. Para kayo nagpaventosa sa test na to. So for the direct method so yun yung pang-test sa vascular system natin, sa blood vessel. So now let's go to the test for your platelets. So we can test the platelets by quantitative and qualitative methods, okay? So when we say qualitative, the functionality of your platelet, kung gumagana ba yung platelet natin. When we say quantitative, kung marami ba siya or kulang. So yun yung binibilang natin by platelet count. So when we say quantitative, nagbibilang po tayo. Okay? So for the direct method, binibilang natin mismo ang platelet. So we use the Rees and Ecker, aka the Tonkin-Tins method. So the composition of your diluting fluid is your citrate, formaldehyde, buffer, brilliant crescent blue. So we use now your hemocytometer. And if we use the red blood cell squares, we use the diluting factor 200, and we use 10 or more squares. For the WBC squares, we use the 4 squares, and the diluting factor that we use is your 1:20 or your 20. Okay, I won't dive much on your platelet count. Okay, I'm sure you have done this in your laboratory. I'm sure nakakita na kayo ng hemocytometer, nakapagbilang na kayo, nakita nyo na anong itsura ng platelet. Okay, so I'm assuming na nagawa nyo na yon. I'm just reiterating because some of this can come out in your midterms. Okay, so for your UNOPET system, it contains ammonium oxalate still. The process is similar to your direct method. Pagkaibahan lang nila is the diluting fluid that you are using. So this one contains ammonium oxalate, and you use the 25 RBC, and this one is the formula for this one. For the indirect method, and aka your Fonios, you use now your right stain. So indirect counting estimation, kaya siya tinawag na indirect because you are not counting the platelets. What you're going to count is the red blood cells. So assuming that there are 10 to 40 red blood cells, there is 1 platelet. So kapag may nabilang kayong 100, there is 3 to 10 platelet, and 200 RBCs, there are 5 to 20 platelets. So the average number of cells, imumultiply nyo yun by 20,000, and that is now your estimated platelet count. Okay, so in your automated counting machine naman, so wala na kayong gagawin dito. Pasok nyo lang yung EDTA nyo sa makina, siya nang bahala. So this one is determined by size and volume. So the volume of your platelet is 2 to 20 femtoliters, and it operates via electrical impedance. So paano po to? So in your electrical impedance, I'm gonna search for. So in your automated counting machine, this operates by your electrical impedance. So I just searched for the brush. So ito na siya. So paano nga ba nangyayari tong electrical impedance? Okay, so let's assume na meron tayong daluyan, kumbaga, pangit, wait lang. So kumbaga ito yung counting chamber natin. Sorry. Sige na nga, agad pa na lang. Let's assume na nandito yung mga platelets natin, okay? And then each platelet would now enter your vessel. So itong vessel na to merong electrical current na nangyayari diyan. Okay? So kapag dumaan yung platelet dito, there will be interruption of your electrical current. Kaya nga siya tinawag na impede. Okay? So nawawala yung current diyan, and the number of times na nawala yung current dito, that is now your platelet count. Okay? Ganun niya binibilang. And then for this one, in your one thing to take note in your quantitative or your direct method when you are counting your platelets is that there are a lot of sources that might happen. So number one is inadequate mixing and poor collection. So if there is inadequate mixing and poor collection, of course the platelet will clump. So ano yung mga usual na reason nito? So improper inversion ng tube. So kapag EDTA, 'di ba, 8 times. Kapag sodium citrate, but we do not use sodium citrate usually in platelet count, not unless there is platelet satelitosis. But yun nga, inadequate mixing, poor collection kapag masyadong matagal or mahaba yung paglagay ng tourniquet. So kapag ganyan, may marami kayong makikitang platelet clumps in your peripheral blood smear, what you're gonna do is redilute, okay? So after redilution, a new specimen is needed, but we don't usually do redilution here in the Philippines. Instead, we do a new specimen is needed kaagad. So new specimen is needed, and usually venipuncture still, and then skin puncture specimen is less desirable kasi kapag sa capillary mo siya kinuha, mas prone ka to again clumping kasi mas maraming platelet yung nandyan, and they are readily available kasi nakaantabay sila just in case na masugat ka. Another one is that the dirt in your pipette, hemocytometer, or diluting fluid may cause the counts to be inaccurate. Of course, your platelets are tiny, di ba? So kapag may mga maliliit na particles na nandyan, you might mistake it for platelet. And then if fewer than 50 platelets are counted on each side, the procedure should be repeated by diluting the blood to 1:20. And if more than 500 platelets are counted on each side, a dilution factor of 1:200 should be made, and the appropriate dilution factor should be used in calculating the results. So, this one applies kapag, ayun nga, gumagamit kayo ng hemocytometer, kapag masyadong konti yung mga platelets na nakikita nyo or masyadong marami, you need to adjust the diluting fluid that you are using. And then, of course, if you use a different diluting factor, you use that in your computation. Another one is if the patient has a normal platelet count, the 5 small RBC squares may be counted, and then the area is 0.2 millimeters on each side. And then the phenomenon of platelet satelitosis may occur when EDTA anticoagulant is used. Usually, diba, EDTA naman talagang ginagamit natin. And then there are times na ito nga, mag-a-appear siya ng ganito. And mahirap siyang bilangin kapag nakadikit sila sa neutrophils. So, the term platelet satelitosis refers to the adherence of platelets around neutrophils producing a ring or satellite effect. So, once na nakakita kayo ng ganito, you should ideally do or re-extract and then perform peripheral blood smear using the citrated specimen, sodium citrate. And then after counting the platelets, because of the concentration of sodium citrate is different from EDTA, you should multiply the platelet count that you computed by 1.1 to correct the sodium citrate concentration adjustment. So this is just a platelet estimate and then the reporting that you need to memorize, okay? So ang normal natin is 150,000 to 400,000. But then 150 to 199 is low normal, and yung talagang normal natin is 200 to 400. Kailan ka po magkakaroon ng bleeding? Kapag naka-reach ka ba ng slightly decrease or 100? Hindi po. Actually, makaka-reach ka pa lang ng severe bleeding or expectant bleeding kapag naka-marked decrease ka na. So, I won't say na it's okay na meron kang 50 to 99 platelets, but that is not indicative na magbi-bleed ka na. Okay? So, parang safety net mo pa yun, kumbaga. So, kabahan ka kapag nasa marked decrease ka na. So, ayan naman, kapag more than 400, you would have slightly increase, moderately increase, and then your marked increase. And then to test your platelet adhesion, I mentioned a while back that your bleeding time is a test for vascular integrity. It's also a test for platelet, okay? Because in bleeding time, you need the interaction of both platelet and blood vessel for this test to proceed, okay? So for the bleeding time, it measures now the adhesion of your platelets. So these are the different methods under bleeding time: the Duke, the IV, the Adelson-Crosby, the Cody-Lalech, your Macfarlane, and then your platelet retention tests. So in bleeding time, the standard skin wound you should only be doing is 2 to 3 millimeters. In vivo, platelet function and number, and then the factors which affect the bleeding time is the elasticity of the cut tissue, the ability of the blood vessels to constrict and retract, and the mechanical and chemical action of the platelets in the formation of hemostatic plug. This one, actually, your bleeding time is already obsolete, okay? It's not frequently requested anymore because of inaccuracy and the lack of standardization, kumbaga. Very subjective yung paggawa ng skin wound and very subjective yung pag-time, kaya hindi na siya masyadong ginagamit. But for the sake of learning, you need to know kung ano yung mga iba't ibang types of bleeding time. So you have the Duke's method or the subjective pressure. It's more practical, more convenient. So it's done on pricking the earlobes. So the IVs naman has a better base principle. So increase the principle behind this is that if you have increased pressure, the longer will be the bleeding time. Sa IVs kasi, 'di ba, once you puncture, linalagyan mo pa ng pressure. So Duke is prinik mo, yun na yun. And then sa IV, sa forearm siya ginagawa. And then the modified Simplate or the modified IV sa forearm naman with an incision of 5 millimeters. So the Adelson-Crosby method, it's almost the same with the Jukes, but the difference is the immersion of the punctured finger in sterile physiologic saline warmed at 37 degrees Celsius to check for bleeding. So, ayun nga, kapag sa Adelson-Crosby, sinugat mo tas sinawsaw mo sa tubig or NSS. So, the Cody-Lalich, same as Adelson-Crosby method. The McFarlane, same with the Adelson-Crosby, but it only uses the earlobe as the site of puncture. So we also have the aspirin tolerance test, which assesses the effect of standard dose aspirin on Jukes bleeding time. So itong aspirin tolerance test, ginawa mo rin yung Jukes bleeding time pero with aspirin. So the bleeding time, abnormal bleeding time might indicate thrombocytopenia, fibrinogenemia, von Willebrand factor disorder, or connective tissue disorder. Bakit? Because this one, your platelet, fibrinogen, von Willebrand, and your connective tissue, which is technically your collagen, these are the 4 factors which are needed for platelet adhesion, di ba? So, but an abnormal bleeding time doesn't actually mean anything for me because hindi siya specific. Like, an abnormal bleeding time wouldn't lead us to thrombocytopenia. A normal bleeding time might also lead to thrombocytopenia. Ganun. So, gets nyo yung ibig kong sabihin na it doesn't tell us much, kumbaga. Okay, so it's just there for the sake of doing. So, another one is the platelet adhesion. For platelet adhesion test is your glass bead retention test. So, this one, we are testing for the in vitro determination of platelet adhesiveness. Platelet retention percentage using venipuncture, and EDTA is an anticoagulant. And the normal value is your 75 to 95%. Paano to ginagawa? So, kapag ito, yun sa control tube, tapos minus tube 3 and then times 100 divided by the control tube. This is the formula that you're gonna use. Okay, so ito yung mga values for a decrease and increase. So just read on them. So that's it for platelet adhesion. For platelet aggregation naman, more important than adhesion because it is more specific than adhesion, di ba? Kasi nga platelet to, whereas adhesion is platelet to blood vessel. So in your platelet aggregation test, the principle here is turbidimetry and the transmittance of light. We have here your platelet aggregation test. So in your platelet aggregation test, it's more important than adhesion kasi nga we are gonna assess the interaction of your platelet and platelet. And then the principle here is turbidimetry and transmittance of light. So its purpose is to differentiate now your Bernard-Soulier syndrome and your Glanzmann thrombasthenia. So in this one, we use these aggregating agents, the arachidonic acid, collagen, and your serotonin, as well as your ristocetin. This arachidonic, collagen, and serotonin are used for adhesion kasi. We use them in aggregation test, but technically they are for adhesion. Kaya kapag nag-positive yung sample natin to these agents, ibig sabihin nun, may defect ka sa adhesion. Kaya kay von Willebrand or Bernard-Soulier, yung likely na disease mo. Kapag sa Glanzmann naman, si ristocetin kasi is an aggregating agent talaga to. So kapag nag-positive yung specimen natin kay ristocetin, most probably Glanzmann thrombasthenia ang we are dealing with. So in platelet aggregation test, we use now your PRP. So if high platelet is aggregated, you will have high transmittance. Okay? So kapag, di ba yung platelet, kapag nag-clump, di ba? Imagine mo in a tube, di ba? In a tube. Pangit. In a tube, 'di ba? Marami kang platelets diyan. Light. So kung maraming platelets diyan, will there be high or low transmittance of light? There will be low transmittance of light. Bakit? Kasi inaabsorb yan ni platelet. So kapag nag-clump yan, So for example, nag-clump-clump yung platelets mo, ito, nag-clump-clump sila, mas lumaki sila, there will be more space for the light to pass through. Okay? There will be more space for the light to pass through. Kaya, kapag mataas ang transmittance ng light, there is good adhesion. Okay? So, if the transmittance is low, there is abnormal adhesion. Okay? Kasi, ibig sabihin nun, hindi nag-clump-clump yung platelet mo. Okay. So, aggregating agents are used to promote platelet aggregation. We use the citrated blue top as an anticoagulant of choice, and if there is aggregate, it is normal. So if the platelets do not aggregate, it's abnormal, di ba? Ibig sabihin, hindi siya nagre-respond sa mga ligands or substances natin, which is yung mga ristocetin, collagen, serotonin, yun. So the commonly used aggregating agents that we use are ADP, epinephrine, which is the last one to be added, thrombin, arachidonic acid. And ayan. So ristocetin is always added first. Dire-diretso kasi yan. Subsequent na addition kasi yan ng reagent. So kapag nag-clump na siya sa ristocetin, ibig sabihin nun, positive test na siya, kumbaga. So kapag hindi siya nag-respond sa ristocetin, try natin sa iba. So that might point out other diseases other than Glanzmann. Okay, so more on this sana no nagawa nyo to sa laboratory nyo para hindi lang imagination yung sinasabi ko. So ayan. So special consideration, there should be no hemolysis. Bakit? Kasi nga the principle behind this is we are using turbidimetry and light transmittance. So, kapag hemolyze yung sample mo, of course, affected na yung light transmittance na principle natin kasi hindi na maganda yung daloy or talbog ng light. And then, fasting may be required. Bakit? Para ma-avoid natin ang lipemic simple. Again, turbidimetry, kapag lipemic yung sample natin, milky siya. So, we need a clear plasma. So the pH should be 6.5 to 8.5. The temperature should be 37 degrees Celsius. No NSAIDs like aspirin for 7 days. And then upon collection, we should test it within 3 hours. Okay, so that's it for your laboratory evaluation for primary hemostasis. Just a short lecture. So in the next video, we're gonna talk about now the diseases of your primary hemostasis. Thank you.